The king instructs Serafi to visit troops, though he is unable to accompany her due to needing to confirm the ruler. Anubis suggests Serafi needs a guard for her trip. Lanteveld, a Henian, volunteers as her queen's guard. Anubis doubts Lanteveld's suitability and suggests testing him first. Anubis has got trust issues. Lanteveld threatens Anubis, but Serafi intervenes and accepts him as captain. On their journey, Lanteveld reveals he sought promotion and lucked into the role due to Serafi being human. Attacked by sand serpents, Serafi is saved by Lanteveld. Guards blame Lanteveld for the attack, but Serafi intervenes. Serafi admits she doesn't fully trust Lanteveld, who confesses to orchestrating the encounter to prove himself. Serafi agrees to trust him, but warns against endangering others. Meanwhile, the soldiers gossip about Lanteveld's Henian heritage. Lanteveld asserts his authority. Captain Tyrion directs Serafi to address the soldiers, where she emphasizes loyalty to the king. Soldiers praise her speech, but Lanteveld advises more authority in her tone. Something like Putin, maybe? Serafi meets the ruler Bronn, discussing the upcoming signing ceremony to quell the rebellion. Later, soldiers accuse Lanteveld of being anti-monarchist due to his heritage. Serafi defends him, acknowledging past betrayals but trusting Lanteveld. The soldiers apologize but admit they don't trust Serafi either. Lanteveld confides that the previous king executed innocent Hyans, fueling his desire for vengeance against the royal family. He warns Serafi of his ability to deceive convincingly, but is moved by her trust. Despite Lanteveld's caution, Serafi believes in his sincerity, affirming her trust in him, which deeply affects him. Good luck with that, Serafi. The next day, Serafi searches for Lanteveld in his room, but finds it empty. Hearing screams, she discovers Bronn has been attacked. Bronn surprisingly survives and describes his attacker as a hooded man with one eye, showing his torn fur. Officials question how the attacker entered, turning to Tyrion for answers. A soldier accuses Lanteveld, since the description fits him, accused him of belonging to a species. Now that's racist. Thus, the soldiers move to arrest him. Serafi intervenes and vows to prove his innocence. Lanteveld is detained while they search for the real culprit. Serafi reassures Lanteveld of her belief in him, prompting Lanteveld's reflection on her unprecedented support. In a flashback, Lanteveld's past reveals Hyan's ostracization, his mother's illness, and a tragic encounter with soldiers over medicine, shaping his beliefs about rank and mistreatment. Realizing his desire for trust, Lanteveld is released the day after the culprit confesses. Serafi's use of collected fur as evidence, based on human color perception, leads to the culprit's apprehension. Sherlock Holmes tool. As Bronn becomes ruler, Serafi thanks Tyrion, who anticipates losing his position due to his men's failure. Lanteveld reveals his ambition to rise to avoid mistreatment, pledging loyalty to Serafi. Back in Osaro, King questions Lanteveld's Henian heritage, but Lanteveld asserts his pride. Anubis warns Lanteveld about his attitude, leading to a tense exchange. The king's intervention prompts Lanteveld's admission of pride in his heritage, earning acceptance as Serafi's protector. Jormungand leads his men against rebels, returning with no casualties, but showing signs of distress. He confides in Ammit on a terrace, returning an amulet for feeling unworthy. Serafi questions his decision, prompting Lanteveld to challenge Jormungand to a duel for answers. The king approves, wanting to confirm something. During the fight, the king notices Jormungand's injury. Ammit tends to him, realizing the amulet's failure. Jormungand confirms his concern for her, prompting Ammit to insist he keeps the amulet. Meanwhile, Alia encounters mounted beasts with a child in the woods. Take a bow, Ilia the Savoir. Alia cuts one of the mounted beasts, causing the child they were carrying to fall. Upon realizing the child is a beast, he initially threatens it, but eventually sheathes his sword, deeming harming a child pointless. Alia agrees to lead Malo to the border and learns from Malo about beast kidnappings by humans who treat them as toys. Suddenly, two humans appear, revealing they work for a noble and intend to take Malo. Recognizing Ilia as the beast hunter, cut the crap nobles, our boys of Savoir. Alia intervenes when he hears Malo's cries. He confronts the kidnappers, expressing disdain for those who manipulate lives. Ilia defends Malo and breaks the kidnappers' weapons, forcing them to flee. Despite his initial distrust of beasts, Alia begins to see them differently, thanks to Serafi's words. Grateful for Malo's help, Adi bids him farewell at the border. Not all goodbyes are heartbreaks. Sarifi and the king discuss the waning activity of anti-monarchist groups, with Anubis suspecting collaboration. An urgent report of an attack on their territory reaches Anubis, prompting the king to return to Osaro. Sarifi offers to take his place, emphasizing her desire to help. Despite reluctance, the king permits her. As Sarifi sets sail, a naval patrol encounters an illegal vessel piloted by Fenrir, a beast plotting to overthrow the king. Fenrir asserts himself as the new king of beasts and plans to seize the throne after eliminating the current ruler. Like, seriously. Despite soldiers' resistance, he swiftly dispatches them. Fenrir demands to know the highest-ranking individual aboard, threatening execution if met with silence. He is like, bring me the ultimate boss of this game. Sarifi confronts Fenrir aboard the ship, offering herself in exchange for sparing the others. Fenrir dismisses her worth, but Sarifi asserts the king's love for her transcends her humanity. Gleipnir corroborates Sarifi's claim, prompting Fenrir to take her as his sacrifice. Lanteveld intervenes, engaging Gleipnir in combat, but falls victim to Gleipnir's magical sword control. Sarifi insists on sparing Lanteveld's life, bargaining her cooperation in exchange for non-violence towards others. Fenrir agrees, and Sarifi orders Binu to tend to the wounded while instructing her watchers to inform the king. Meanwhile, civilians gather in panic at the palace gates, learning of the invasion. The king, urged by Anubis to remain in the palace, contemplates sending a search party but fears Fenrir's intentions towards Sarifi. Despite the king's desire to rescue her, Sarifi's message persuades him to prioritize protecting the kingdom. Addressing the civilians, the king vows to defend them and mentally prepares for a showdown with Fenrir to save Sarifi and safeguard his realm. The king receives a report revealing that the invaders are anti-monarchists allied with Fenrir. Meanwhile, Lanteveld trails Binu in search of Sarifi, but realizes she's in a place shielded by a barrier. At Fenrir's base, Sarifi questions his motives for wanting to be king. Fenrir recounts his past as a vassal state prince, humiliated in a duel with the king's son, and seeking revenge to restore his honor and reorder society. Despite Sarifi's warnings, Fenrir unleashes his power, causing her to pass out, intrigued by her connection to the king. In the city of Kulden, Anubis encounters Gleipnir, who tries to persuade him to switch sides. Anubis remains loyal to the king, but is betrayed and stabbed by Gleipnir. Fenrir tries to win Sarifi over with lavish gifts, but she refuses, stating that the king's love is all she needs. Fenrir envies Gleipnir's unwavering loyalty and recalls how he rescued Gleipnir as a pup, naming him and declaring their eternal bond. Gleipnir refuses to join Fenrir's cause despite his reluctance to kill needlessly. Jordan intervenes, protecting Anubis and revealing the king sent him to aid his friend. In the ensuing battle, Jorman injures Gleipnir, who retreats on his flying beast. Anubis realizes they can track Gleipnir to find Fenrir's base. Meanwhile, Lanteveld locates the base, but encounters Fenrir before he can rescue Sarifi. Sarifi tries to escape, but Bennu intervenes, thwarting her attempt. Bennu releases Sarifi and reveals their escape plan while a decoy distracts Fenrir. However, Sarifi refuses to leave without rescuing Lanteveld. Despite Lanteveld's determination to sacrifice himself as her guard captain, Sarifi intervenes, insisting that guards shouldn't die for their masters and that she needs him by her side as she becomes a true queen. Bennu breaches the barrier, and Lanteveld catches them as they fall, collapsing from the strain. Sarifi sends a message to KS, informing the king of Fenrir's base location. As Sarifi carries Lanteveld away, Fenrir confronts them, demanding submission. Lanteveld retaliates by stabbing Fenrir's leg, allowing them to escape briefly until Fenrir pursues. Their salvation comes from Vigor, followed by the king's arrival. Fenrir eagerly anticipates his rematch, while the king prepares to face him. Anubis and Jund hurry to the scene, but are obstructed by Gleipnir, determined to prevent their interference. The battle ensues, with both the king and Fenrir sustaining injuries from powerful clashes. Fenrir reveals he deliberately weakened himself by channeling power into Sarifi's ring, seeking a fair fight. As they transform into primal beasts, they engage in a fierce battle, inflicting severe wounds on each other. Despite Fenrir's resilience and refusal to surrender, the outcome remains uncertain. As Fenrir celebrates landing a critical blow on the king, the monarch doubts his resolve, feeling he's merely clinging to the throne. Sarifi's call reminds him of his true name, Leonheart, meaning brave-hearted, reigniting his determination. Despite Fenrir's surprise at his resilience, the king realizes it's Sarifi who empowers him. Gleipnir, sensing Fenrir's fear, recalls their shared history and offers his loyalty, even willing to sacrifice his ear as a token of devotion. Fenrir, determined to reclaim his pride, clashes with the king once more, both refusing to yield. Ultimately, the king emerges victorious, embraced by Sarifi. However, Fenrir rises again, prompting the king to prepare for a final confrontation to protect his people. As the king moves to deliver the finishing blow, Gleipnir intervenes, fulfilling his mission by incapacitating Fenrir. Gleipnir escapes with Fenrir's body, leaving the parting message for the king as the exhausted monarch collapses. As everyone rushes to aid the king, they return to the palace where Anubis gathers all the priests to attend to him. Gleipnir becomes a wanted man throughout the kingdom, mutiny round 2.0 maybe. Days later, Jormungand trains with Lanteveld, noting his changed outlook thanks to Sarifi's influence. Sarifi visits the king, finding him weakened but back in his human form, Transformer 2. Our king is even smoother in the transitions. Sarifi asked about their last conversation, learning that Gleipnir thanked the king for freeing Fenrir from his curse. Gleipnir, Fenrir's body, reminisces about their time together before joining him in death. Meanwhile, Sat searches the Forbidden Archives for a way to overthrow the king, Game of Thrones monster world. Anubis reports no disturbances in the kingdom and plans a triumphal procession ceremony to celebrate the king's victory against Fenrir. Anubis advises against Sarifi's presence at the ceremony to avoid public disapproval. Sarifi and Amit enjoy desserts to celebrate the king's recovery, lamenting the loss of Sarifi's broken ring. Lanteveld suggests the king will offer finer gifts once Sarifi becomes queen, but Amit emphasizes the sentiment behind even small gifts. Encouraged, Sarifi asks the king for a replacement. Later, the king reveals Sarifi's newfound immunity to miasma and surprises her with a magical revelation of a tree. As they sit together, the king reveals his intention to abolish sacrifices and establish positive relations with Yana. He acknowledges the risk of sending beasts as emissaries due to potential human hostility. Sarifi suggests using humans as intermediaries instead, as they could serve as a bridge between the two species. The king agrees, impressed by her insight, and promises to work towards this goal. Sarifi expresses her belief that mutual understanding and cooperation are achievable, leading to a brighter future for both humans and beasts. The king is touched by her optimism and determination, reaffirming his commitment to her and their shared vision. As Sarifi prepares to depart for the human realm, Alit and Lanteveld express their good wishes for her safety. Lanteveld notices the absence of the king, prompting Sarifi to reassure him that they've already bid their farewells. Sat is determined to uncover the king's birth secret to further his goals. Damn man, just let go of the poor guy. Sarifi arrives in the largest kingdom, where a peddler tries selling her a shawl until Ocelot, the acting commander of the knights, intervenes. Sarifi requests an audience with the king, leading to her immediate arrest. Hoping Ocelot will deliver her letter, she reveals her mission. At night, Ocelot confirms her identity as the recent sacrifice from the beast realm, but can't deliver the letter due to its beast script. He mentions a woman who studies beast script and could translate it, promising to deliver the letter if Sarifi succeeds. Sarifi locates the Witch of Shedi and is attacked by a woman resembling the king in human form. Saved by Bennu, Sarifi seeks the woman's help, but she refuses, threatening her. The next day, Sarifi persists, annoying the woman, who dismisses her until two men claim the witch uses poisonous flowers to kill villagers. Sarifi refutes the men's claims about the flowers' toxicity, but they persist, attacking her as they mistake her for the witch's ally. The woman intervenes, driving off the men to protect her garden. The woman, known as Anastasia, agrees to consider Sarifi's request, but tends to purr when she feels unwell. Sarifi nicknames her Anastasia, causing embarrassment, and later discovers Anastasia studying a book in beast script. Anastasia reveals it's her ancestor's diary, detailing a forbidden relationship with a beast, tarnishing her lineage's reputation. Sarifi suggests it might hold information about the king's mother, prompting Anastasia to agree to help decode the letter. Meanwhile, Anubis confronts Sat for trespassing in the Forbidden Archive, accusing him of treason. Sat, claiming royal privilege, questions Anubis' loyalty to the king, hinting at a hidden truth. You can't question Anubis here. Loyalty Rule 101. Anubis wrestles with Sat's proposal to expose the king's secret, feeling torn at the battle of swirling thoughts in his mind. Ocelot praises Seraphi for her success and reunites with Anastasia, revealing they are from the same village. Anastasia begins translating the letter, and Ocelot takes it to the king for an audience. Seraphi feels nervous, but is encouraged by Anastasia to be assertive during the meeting. In the throne room, the king proposes a global council to discuss his plan, granting them 7 days to prepare. He questions Seraphi about the beast realm, expressing disdain for the sacrificial tradition. Seraphi defends the realm, emphasizing its similarities to the human world and the desire for peace among its inhabitants. Impressed by her candor, Ocelot admires her courage and shares his hope for peace between humans and beasts. Meanwhile, Anubis, hesitant but determined, delivers Sat's proposal to the king. He requests a face-to-face discussion, leading to the revelation of the king's beast form. Relieved, Anubis discusses negotiations with Yana. As Seraphi prepares to return home, Ocelot suggests she stay for the council's decision, but Anastasia admonishes him. Seraphi asks Anastasia about her interest in the beast script, and Anastasia reveals it was to understand herself better, finding solace in Ocelot's acceptance. Touched by her words, Seraphi departs, reflecting on her wish for acceptance for others. They reach the beast realm, and Seraphi is thrown into the king's arms by Bennu. Anubis calls for a royal council immediately, where Seraphi discusses her mission in the human realm. She notices the king acting strangely. Anubis seeks approval to announce peace talks with Yana and Seraphi's role, which the king approves. A new beast offers to acknowledge Seraphi as the lawful queen-to-be if the talks succeed. Omid, Say, and Kops react with shock, but Lantevelt mentions she must pass one last test, establishing good relations with Yana. Amit is hopeful Anubis might change his stance, but others doubt it. Lantevelt senses something suspicious in the palace. Anubis informs the king about the proclamation's delivery, urging a council afterward. The king, silent, agrees. Seraphi asks him to take her out, and he complies, wanting a private conversation. In a cave, he lights up magical rocks, symbolizing his strength. Seraphi vows to show him the stars once he can reveal his human form openly. The king discusses the importance of the proclamation, and Seraphi assures him of her support. On proclamation day, tension mounts. Anubis is uneasy due to Sat's absence. The king announces peace plans with Yana, causing murmurs. Sat interrupts, casting a spell that clears the miasma, revealing the king's human form. The shock of seeing the king as a human prompts Seraphi to swiftly escape with him, aided by Lantevelt throwing Sai at her. Anubis accuses Set of using forbidden magic from sealed tomes to trap the king in human form, but Set reveals he only cleared the miasma temporarily to simulate a night of revelation, leaving Anubis speechless. Lantevelt, pursued by guards, is stopped until Jormungand intervenes, explaining they're following Set's orders. Set declares himself acting king, alleging Anubis appointed him due to his grasp of the situation, and declares a state of emergency, branding the king and Seraphi as criminals. In a cave, Seraphi comforts the distraught king, then ventures out to see the artificially clear sky, deduced by Ben. In town, she witnesses a divisive sorting squad enforcing a new class system decreed by Set, inciting unrest among citizens. Seraphi shields a baby from harm, expressing frustration at the citizens' changed attitudes. The sorting squad threatens her, but Lantevelt intervenes, leading Seraphi away as they discuss Set's machinations. Set claims royal blood and rightful heirship, backed by stamped records from an archpriest, countering Jormungand's opposition. Jormungand confronts Anubis about serving Set, asserting Leonhardt as his true king and getting seized for rebellion. Seraphi, alarmed, discusses the potential for civil war with Lantevelt, who prioritizes serving her over allegiance to any king. Encouraged by Sai and Kops, Seraphi resolves to restore Leonhardt to the throne, but seeks to confirm his lineage first. Returning to the cave, she urges Leonhardt to reclaim his kingship to stabilize the kingdom, but he initially considers fleeing with her to Yana. Jormungand, Aided by Amit, escapes captivity and vows to find the king and Seraphi. He explains how he was coerced by Set into revealing the secret and entrusted it to Seraphi before dissipating. Meanwhile, the king and Jormungand fight their way into the palace, where Set traps them and declares Leonhardt a false king. Seraphi vows to prove Leonhardt's royal blood, and the archpriest imparts another secret before vanishing. Set chains the king, revealing his plan to divide the kingdom. Meanwhile, Set continues to torment the king, but Anubis intervenes upon seeing Seraphi unconscious with Set. Galios and his men intervene to protect the king as Lanteveld escapes captivity. Amit aids Lanteveld in freeing him. Set attacks Seraphi, prompting the king to intervene and revert to his beast form. The king prepares to face Set in battle, unaffected by Set's attacks due to his strength in magic. The king seizes Set, vowing to hold him accountable for his actions. "Showing what you got, king." Lanteveld questions why she kept her scar. The king emerges, proudly proclaiming his half-human heritage, attributing his efforts for peace to his love for Seraphi, who empowered him. Declaring Seraphi as queen, he pledges his life to defend Osaro, asking for the kingdom's allegiance. The crowd cheers their acceptance. Days later, the king and Seraphi marry. Lanteveld brings Richard back to lessons with Anubis.